Hey everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Royal Duck Podcast. I'm your host Prarthana, and I am super happy to have you here. I apologize for not being able to put out an episode last week. I was experiencing some technical difficulties, and yeah, so I'm sorry about that. So, last week, no, last a couple of weeks back, the Paris Olympic Games was concluded, and I guess the USA won the most medals and stuff like that. And obviously, for now, cricket is not yet a regular Olympic sport. And some of you may be aware that cricket will be a part of the LA Olympic Games in 2028. But did you know that cricket has already been played in the Olympics once? Yes, I was in the Summer Olympics of 1900, which was also hosted in Paris. Prior to that, there had been like this initiative to have cricket included in the Summer Olympic Games of 1896, which was hosted in Athens in Greece. But um, I don't know, it did not happen. Then they hosted it in 1900 in Paris. So there were only like two participants in that. Like I don't know, I guess um like countries like Australia and I think at that point of time only Australia, South Africa, and England had played their inaugural tests. So there were only two participants, Great Britain and surprisingly France. Yeah, not even know the French played cricket, at least to the extent that they would get into the Olympics. I mean, they would be interested to participate in the Olympics. But yeah, so Great Britain had mostly club cricketers, and the French team was mostly English expatriates. So, for those of you who don't know, an expatriate is someone who lives in a country they're not native to or not a citizen of. So, essentially, these people were just Englishmen who were living in France. So, the two teams played a 2 day match with two innings per side, and they sort of mutually agreed to have 12 people per side. Great Britain won by 158 runs for the gold medal, and France won silver. And since there was no other team participating, um, there was no bronze. I was like looking at the details of this match, and I came to know that apparently, if the French held out for just another 5 minutes, this game would have been drawn. I guess they raised the white flag on that one. So yeah, so I was thinking, what would have happened if both teams had, like if this game had drawn, what would have happened? Like both teams would like what share gold or something. So yeah, so yeah, that was that for that edition of the Olympic Games. Cricket was scheduled to be a part of the 1904 Summer Olympics, which was hosted in St. Louis, which is in the United States. But but it was cancelled due to a lack of entries apparently. So yeah, I guess people were just not interested in playing cricket in the Olympics back then. And and after that, cricket and the Olympics was sort of never brought up, at least not very seriously, until we got the 21st century when more and more people were interested to see cricket being played in the Olympics. So now you have cricket, being part of the 2028 Summer Olympics. They're going to include T20 cricket. So, as much as I love like all the formats, I feel T20 is a great format to introduce people to the game to. It's, short, catches your attention quite easily because, the game progresses so quickly. So there are quite a few advantages of having T20s in, games like the Olympics, in tournaments like the Olympics. So when this was announced a couple of years back that cricket would be a part of the Summer Olympic Games, of when this was announced a few years back that cricket would be a part of the LA Olympic Games, I, had a Q&A on my meme page where I asked my followers what they thought about, how they perceived this. And most of them perceived it positively. Well, there was only one person who got back to me on why they thought, this may not be a very good idea. So I was looking at the advantages and disadvantages. So, advantage one, which most people had pointed out to me back then, was that this opens cricket up to a bigger audience. See, for now, cricket is just restricted to like these few countries that have traditionally played cricket. Like you have England, you have Australia, you have India, you have South Africa, and like just a handful of countries. And but on the other hand, the Olympics is played on on a much bigger scale. On just brings more awareness towards the game. Like for instance, you had the T20 World Cup, which is being hosted in the US and West Indies. And surprisingly, a lot of Americans did not even know that they were hosting a major tournament like this. They all came to know about it only after the USA beat Pakistan. So yeah, so I guess having cricket in the Olympics would sort of draw more awareness towards it, and so then I began to think of some more advantages. Another another advantage is that it would open cricket up to more innovation. Since you're having more people being included, you don't know how, someone or the other might innovate, bend the rules a little bit and things like that, and do the next crazy thing, which might lead to some sort of major change. Or you never know who's going to come up with the next crazy shot, who's going to come up with the next uh, crazy delivery or things like that. So, and so yeah, that was the second point, the second advantage. The third advantage that I could think of was it would ensure the survival of the game in the long run. For now, cricket is just restricted to like these few countries, and if you just keep cricket limited to these countries, it'll eventually, like at some point, lead to its decline, and then from decline to just death. And we don't want that because this game is so wonderful; it deserves to live for as long as humankind does. So yeah, that's another advantage that I could think of. And another advantage that I could think of was that it would lead to cricketers being more decorated as sports players. You see, like for now, cricketers and all their achievements are just tied down to ICC's tournaments. Like if you look at least previous generation players, if you look at their achievements, it's all like, oh, okay, they won the World Cup so many times, they won the, I don't know, let's say Champions Trophy so many times, T20 World Cup so many times. But if you include cricket in, not just the Olympics, but other tournaments too, like uh, the Commonwealth Games, the Asian Games, and things like that, you can see like just leads to them being more decorated. If they win medals in these uh, tournaments. Like if you look at hockey players, hockey is they have their own like World Cup. They play in the Olympics, they play in Commonwealth Games, they play in Asian Games and things like that. And in stuff, and you can see how it'll lead to this them being more decorated in their careers. Then one person, got back to me that time in my Q&A session about why cricket and the Olympics is a bad idea. So the only disadvantage they could really point out to me back then was it would devalue ICC and ICC tournaments, and the Olympics gold medal might end up being more important. So, firstly, I'd just say that it's a possibility. You don't really know what's gonna happen. Like none of us have been in the future. It's just a possibility, and like for all you know, it may not really end up making a huge difference. And yeah, if it does, you can't help it. It probably won't end up being more important than ICC. Maybe it just might end up being as important. I don't know. That's just my estimation of it. And then I thought of a possible disadvantage. It's that it would um, change cricket culture altogether as we know it. Like, although most of us cricket fans come from a lot of diverse backgrounds. Even though cricket's played in a handful of countries, there's like so much diversity involved in this. So even though there's diversity, there are like certain things that we all agree on. So I was thinking the only possible disadvantage is it'll just end up changing cricket culture as we know it altogether. That's like literally the only other disadvantage I could think of. In every other way, it's just proving to be more and more advantageous. So yeah, anyway, that's that for today's episode. If you like today's episode, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. And if you do have any thoughts on cricket and the Olympics or anything related to cricket really, you can reach out to me. You can put it down in the comments here. You can reach out to me on my Instagram. I'm like most active on Instagram. So it's the Royal Duck underscore podcast. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Have a good day. See ya.